Imagine this scenario. With your newfound degree in engineering, you step outside of your cozy one-bedroom apartment and start the day by scouring for full-time positions by applying online and stalking people on LinkedIn. However, to avoid this fate, internships paint themselves as a way to gain industry experience before actually entering the workforce. So today, I'm going to be talking about the internship search experience from the lens of a freshman perspective. And trust me, the word internship is something you're going to hear many more times as you go through university. I was incredibly lucky to receive a couple of offers as a freshman, but the truth is that finding internships is just completely luck, but there are certain ways which will allow you to increase the amount of luck that you have with recruiters. Now, first things first, coming out of high school, every single job offer will start from your resume. Now, if any of you guys are watching this and you possibly applied to UT Austin, you probably know of those huge resumes that they had you write. But in the job world, if your resume is more than one page, you're most likely going to get automatically rejected. There are plenty of resume templates online if you Google for resume template for your specific major, and I personally use a resume that utilizes LaTeX because it's a text formatting programming language that formats your resume really nicely so that you don't have to worry about the formatting whenever you add new content. Now, while it's kind of hard to come by coming straight out of high school, the number one thing that will probably help you out is previous internship or shadowing experience, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be paid. If you have nothing to do in the summer before your freshman year, it wouldn't hurt to just reach out to companies in your local area to see if you could possibly job shadow and learn more about the roles that you want to pursue in the future. And a benefit of this is it also gives you more insight in the day-to-day of your actual role in the future and can even show you if that role is something that you don't want to pursue instead. In addition, most really solid resumes will have projects that show the person's commitment to their actual craft. And projects are a great way to learn things that you would have to know either way if you were able to pursue that type of position in the future. For example, if you were to spend time building a high quality project with something like React or GitHub is pretty much essential for everything that you're going to be doing in the future when it comes to software development. So it's good to know how to use it in the future anyways. Although hackathons are a bit later into the year, there are plenty of online hackathons that you can also apply to as well. Hackathons are a great way to just grind out a project in a short amount of time, and then if you place well, that's an easy quantifiable impact to show to a potential recruiter. And even if you don't win, you can always project the frameworks and technologies that you used on your resume as well. And although I mentioned this before, and it's probably something that you're going to hear a lot in the future, you need to have quantifiable impact to show recruiters what you actually did on a project. For the bullet points on your resume, whenever you're describing a project or internship, there's a large difference between saying, I wrote X in this programming language compared to I had X amount of quantifiable impact that helped X amount of people. And that's kind of a brute force example, but examples like that where you're able to show the real impact that your project had will help you out a ton because recruiters only have a few seconds whenever they're scanning over resumes at career fairs, for example. Also, last thing is that at Texas A&M and a lot of other colleges, there's a free AI resume editor called VMock that you can use to scan your resume before going to something like a career fair or applying to something online. Now, I'm definitely not the first person to be making a video on how to optimize your resume. So now I'm going to be moving on to some ways that will allow you to find these positions in the first place. And some of these are context specific to Texas A&M engineering. So first things first, the easiest way to probably start is through family connections. Now, I know that not all of us are fortunate enough to have these, but if you are, it's a great way to just float around your resume at the companies that your parents possibly work at. And even if you don't end up getting a role there immediately, it would be a good experience to just interview people that your parents may know who work in the roles that you want to work in the future to understand what they do day to day and really get a good understanding of if you can really imagine yourself in that role in the future. Now that family connections are out of the way, let's move on to LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is kind of a gray area in my opinion when it comes to applying to these roles. LinkedIn has a ton of jobs that you can apply to, and you can set your profile as open to work so that recruiters could possibly contact you, but it's kind of a hit or miss. In my personal opinion, I utilized LinkedIn a lot in my freshman year to really just gain perspective on some different types of roles that I wanted to pursue in the future. Because on LinkedIn, you can go to companies and sort by people who are going to the university that that you're hoping to pursue. So say for example, you're going to Texas A&M. You can simply go to a company like Google or NASA, for example, and sort by the employees who went to Texas A&M and simply just reach out, asking them for advice to possibly land yourself an internship or job in the future. Now that word is crucial, to ask respectfully for advice and not a job, because there's already a low chance that people on LinkedIn will respond to you. But if you straight out ask this random person for a job that you don't even know is on the recruiting side, there's no chance that they'll respond to you. Just be genuinely interested in your future work prospects and try to get a sense of what the day-to-day looks like. And if someone actually ends up responding from your reach out, then boom, you have a fresh new perspective on how they possibly went through your desired college, such as Texas A&M, and got through the process to eventually land at that company after their 4 years. And this could also possibly lead to a referral, but also don't ask for that up front. You need to build a personal connection first. So now let's move on to my experiences in applying online. Now there are plenty of job boards, and if you ever scroll LinkedIn for like 2 seconds, there's going to be this person talking about their new curated internship list. And sure, these are great and all, and one of the lists that I personally used was called Simplify, which is actually a really helpful resource that you guys should probably use whenever you are applying to jobs. But the thing is that whenever one of these internships gets posted to one of these lists, there's thousands, if not tens of thousands of people applying for the same positions, which kind of sucks if you're a freshman. Another thing is that they use automatic resume screeners to sort out your resume before real humans even get a chance to look at it, which is understandable because they have so many applications, but it also drives up the luck factor, which I talked about in the beginning. Other ways of applying online are college-specific portals like Hierarchies, for example, and another resource that's worth looking into is called Handshake, because companies will hold events at your university and then they'll post them on Handshake, so that will be a great way to really build up your connections in the industry, although that wasn't something I personally used too much. Now let's move on to the Texas A&M Career Fair. Now, just to give credit to Texas A&M, they put an incredible amount of work into this event, and it's a great way to practice your speaking skills when you're talking with recruiters and really learn about the companies that you want to pursue in the future. So this career fair is ultimately where I got most of my offers from, probably just because you can make a better interpersonal connection with these recruiters and the people who are looking at your resumes directly. But there's also some downsides of the career fair as well. The first pretty obvious downside is that it gets incredibly crowded given the amount of people who do engineering at Texas A&M. Another thing is that because Texas A&M goes by the general engineering setup, it's incredibly difficult for recruiters to actually know what you do. So I didn't personally say this, but it would just be recommended to put the major that you want to pursue so that companies actually have a sense of what role you're looking for. Now, whenever you're talking to these companies, don't just blurt out your elevator pitch as well without being prompted. Try to be genuine in your approach, and at the end of the day, finding a company has to be a two-way fit. So you want to ask questions as well while they ask you questions at the same time. Now, because it was incredibly crowded, I ended up going to the career fair 40 minutes early to get a good spot in line, and there was already somewhat of a line that started to develop even at that time. So I'd recommend going at least 30 minutes before if you want to have a chance of talking with recruiters without standing in a 10 to 30 plus minute line, especially for larger companies. A really good resource before the career fair is called Simplicity, which shows a ton of pre-career fair company events and also holds every single company and which day they're going to be at the career fair, in addition to their location in the actual venue. So research the layout of the career fair so you know where companies are at, especially the ones that you want to talk to. And also, although it doesn't have to be excessive, do a little bit of research about the companies beforehand so you know what to actually talk to them about whenever you go to them. And if you don't know anything about the company, just be honest and say you don't know. Now, being honest, I didn't think I would get any interviews or really any offers after the career fair because it really just felt like an informational more than an actual career fair. There's so many people, so all these recruiters can really just do is just point you to a QR code to apply online. But I guess somehow my resume got forwarded along in the process and it ended up working out. Also, make sure that you have notifications set for your email, because if you end up getting an interview opportunity, sometimes these interview slots are limited, so you have to be one of the first to sign up. All in all, it's a really good experience to talk to strangers and try to convince them that you're competent enough to hold a job with their company. But before the career fair, make sure your resume is solid and make sure that you have a decent elevator pitch that you can hit on whenever people ask you questions within your industry. Now, I already mentioned at the beginning of the video that hackathons were a great way to get project experience under your belt before you end up applying to positions. But the thing is, at Texas A&M, because the career fair in the fall is a bit early, as a freshman, I believe the only hackathon that will occur before the career fair is Howdy Hack, while Temu Hack occurs in the spring. Now, Howdy Hack doesn't have its own career fair, but here's some of my experiences of attending the career fairs at the hackathons of UT Austin, UT Dallas, and then ultimately Texas A&M. Now, at a hackathon, if you end up winning one of the company challenges, that's a really great way to just get your resume through past all the pool of applicants and possibly get an interview straight away. Similar to a regular career fair, these career fairs also feel just like informationals rather than active recruiting. Because most of these people who are manning the career fairs at these hackathons are really just volunteers that may or may not be heavily involved in recruiting, one thing that you can just do is just ask them about their day-to-day, as I've mentioned before, and gain a better sense of what you could do and how you can best utilize your time to possibly land yourself somewhere in the company in the future. So with that being said, I'll just finish up with some basic stuff that will probably boost your resume. So number one, joining clubs. Pretty obvious, and if you end up getting an officer position in that club, really shows your dedication to your craft within your field. Doesn't matter if it's computer science, aerospace, if you join a club that's related to it and you're able to show your commitment through an office position or some sort of quantifiable impact, that's a great bullet point to have on your resume. Secondly, doing research. Now, research could really be its own video in itself. If you're interested in doing research, one of the best tips I had when actually contacting professors is to reach out to a ton of professors, comb through their papers, and then see which one looks interesting, and then actually email them saying that you read that paper and that you would possibly like to discuss about it sometime. But the thing is that you don't actually read the paper until they respond asking you to discuss. So then you have to grind it out and then read that paper to be able to discuss some questions that you have about the paper. And more often than not, if you have that dedication to go out of your way and read a research paper, the professor will probably try to take you in if you have enough time. But doing research is something that you have to be really committed to because it takes a lot of hard work. And last thing is that even if you don't have an internship, trust me, especially at the end of your freshman year, it's not the end of the world at all. Your last resort really could just be emailing startups. Funny story, I tried to email this one startup and they offered me an $1,000 stipend to work 40 hours per week for 6 months in California. So if you do the math on that one, that's about $1 per hour without even factoring the amount of travel costs that I would have to actually live in California for 6 months. So startups are kind of a hit or miss. If you're able to gain startup experience, that would be really cool because you're going to have more impact on a startup project than project at a large company. And yeah, other than that, even if you don't end up getting any offers, that summer before your sophomore year would be a great way to really build up your project experience and practice interview questions so you can be locked and loaded to go for next year. And one thing that is really crazy about these internships is that applications are so early in advance. Like some of these internships will have applications that occur the summer before the actual internship. So be sure to be posted for those as well. But anyways, this was just my weekly yap session about my experiences in college so far. If you have any questions, feel free to just reach out to me on Instagram or maybe Discord. I'll put my Discord in the description. I don't really read YouTube comments that often, so yeah. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end, you're actually a real OG. I don't even know how many people are watching me at the end right now. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.